kind of discuss. And I'm gonna explain why. And it's not because I don't like Serena. I love Serena Williams. I went, I did a tour of the Nike campus years ago. It was arranged by Larry Miller, a friend of mine who's the CEO of, or a former CEO of the Air Jordan brand. And Larry's a brilliant guy, and he's responsible for making Air Jordan into what it is. Before he took over, it was kind of on the decline. Larry took it to the next level, and I just think he's not just a smart guy; he's a great guy, and I have a lot of respect for him. So Larry gave me a tour of the Nike campus. And I remember when I was on the campus, I saw this gigantic building. Like they had all this stuff named after athletes. Like you would see flags up. One had Christian Coleman, who I recognize because he's one of the fastest men on earth. Then I would see like the Tiger Woods Cafe, and then of course you had the Michael Jordan building. And then I saw this massive building being built in the back, like it was taller than all the other buildings. It was just like a monstrosity of a, like monstrosity in a good way, like the Hulk of building. It was beautiful. It was black. It was just like what I was like, what is that? And they said, oh, that's the Serena Williams building. So apparently, I don't know. Maybe there's others who have big stuff too. But I saw on the Nike campus, it almost seemed like Serena had the biggest building of all the athletes on the campus, and she deserves it. I mean, she's the goatiest of the goats, in terms of how good she is. Now, with that being said, I saw this incident take place with Serena, I guess, getting into a fight with a cotton plant, and that she saw in a fancy hotel in New York or something, and I don't know, or maybe it was another city, and she said that it was offensive to her, and I'm not saying that you don't have the right to be offended by cotton, but I really kind of said to myself, I thought to myself, gosh, out of all the things that we could be offended by, out of all the things that we could be fighting for, out of all the things that could be getting our attention at any given moment, I wonder if a cotton plant is sort of should be near the top of the list, right? Not to say that Serena was right or wrong. It's just more like, is this the best use of our time as Black people, right? Does that make sense? And I'm gonna break down and explain to you an argument that if Serena was in this room, I could make it directly to her because it's not offensive. It's not like, hey, what's wrong with you? You getting mad at a cotton plant? I get it. We used to pick cotton, and cotton, for us that was kind of part of our nightmare, and I completely understand. I don't think the hotel was thinking that though. I don't know. I don't know. What do y'all think? How many of you think that the hotel was like, we're gonna put a cotton plant in here just so we can mess with the Negroes, so we can make Serena Williams go viral and attack us? Or maybe it was an oversight. Maybe they just didn't think about it. I don't know. What do y'all think? I don't know. I'm not here to evaluate that because there is conscious and unconscious racism, or there's just inconsiderate behavior. I know personally, I probably could have walked by a cotton plant and I would have been like, "Oh, what is this?" Like that. That would have been my reaction. Like, what is? And my wife would be like, "Boyce, that's cotton." I said, "Oh, it does. I didn't know that this was a plant. I didn't. I just didn't know these things, right?" So anyway, all right. So here, all right. So here's what I want to talk about. I want to talk about Serena Williams, Cotton, and Black Wall Street, right? And all these things, by the time we're done, are going to be connected in a way where hopefully you can get the economic lesson from this. I'm not just here to sort of give commentary. As you guys know, every morning this is class. This is called Financial Consciousness Training, Economic Elevation, and the goal is to elevate all of our thinking when it comes to Black economics. Not to pretend like I'm right about everything, but to give you ways to look at things. That's part of what consciousness is. It's the ability to even empathize with ideas that are different from your own. Does that make sense? Do we agree on that? Give me a yes if you agree that we ain't got to agree on everything. That I'm not the King Kong correctness, right? I'm not the guy who knows everything all the time and has it always right. I can't always give you every perspective because some things don't have one perspective, right? There's not one truth, right? And I think that, but that's consciousness, right? Consciousness is where I say, yeah, I'm conscious of the fact that my ideas are relevant and can be heard, but your ideas are relevant too, and you can disagree. It's okay. I just want to make that clear. All right. So anyway, as we move into this, and don't let me forget, I want to give you guys a gift toward the end. There's some stuff I want to tell you about the economy in terms of how to prepare for what I think could be a coming recession, and or perhaps at least a market downturn, and kind of how to position your portfolio on this. And I got something I'll distribute to you guys in a minute. So here's what I want to start with. Why and I even had to do a reflection. I said, why is it that this thing with Serena and the cotton kind of bothers me? Why does this kind of get on my nerves a little bit? And honestly, I'm gonna tell you my personal bias is that sometimes I think that we get caught up in a lot of symbolism, as opposed to really focusing on the substance. And then also it's kind of like, okay, we got this, billionaire celebrity with this billionaire white boy husband. And I'm not dissing anybody who's married to a white man. I'm not saying that that's bad. I'm just saying, I doubt that she's kind of like in the struggle, right? She's not in Compton anymore, right? She's moved to, maybe Oz or something, or it's a fairy tale land or something. And she's talking about something that, in my view, probably wouldn't make the top 300 issues that affect the lives of Black people today. Like we could put a cotton plant in every single person's house, and it's not going to change your wealth level. It's not going to reduce the amount of trauma in our families. It's not going to change the number of Black kids getting murdered in the street. It's not going to shift the horrible educational system and the outcomes that we're seeing everywhere, where millions and millions and millions of our kids are graduating from high school without being able to read. It doesn't change anything, right? It's symbolism. So maybe she was triggered. I saw the word triggered. That could be it, right? And but then I think when you're triggered, maybe being triggered in a variety of ways might be good. Like maybe she can also be triggered by reparations and really go fight on Capitol Hill for reparations. Like I want to testify in favor of reparations for the Black community because I'm triggered by the fact that you white people have not given us what we're owed, right? Or maybe you could be triggered into opening 50 schools that can each hold, say, I don't know, 5,000 Black youth, maybe 10,000, and then you're educating 500,000 Black kids every year now because you're so angry and triggered by what you're seeing in the world, right? We could do that, by the way. You guys do know that, right? You do know that with the 1.7 trillion in Black wealth, Black people could literally buy the NFL about 5 times every year. You could actually you have a GDP that's higher than Russia and a lot of major countries. 95% of all countries don't have as much income as the Black community in America. You do know that, right? Do we know these things, or do I got to go through the list? And one day I'm gonna just go through the list and explain all the things we could buy NBC, ABC, CNN, and all that every year if we wanted to, and then have money left over, right? So just know that you got the money to do whatever you want. What you don't have yet is the mindset. So you're not broke, you're broken. That there's a difference. There's broken. And really, when you're talking about confidence matters a lot when it comes to investing and building and all these other things. You could have all the wealth in the world, but if you don't have confidence to use that wealth in a powerful way, then you're not going to be a powerful person. So a lot of power starts with consciousness and confidence. So if I'm consciously confident and I know I've got the backing, I've got the wealth on top of that, then I can make moves and I can change the world. I can do anything I want, right? So anyway, moving on, let's talk specifically about the politics of symbolism and how this has harmed our ability to build the things we need to build. There are political science theories that support the basic idea that politicians, when it comes to not just Black people, really with everybody, they lean on symbolism as opposed to actual substance. There's a theory, research paper written by Murray Edelman in 1964 called The Symbolic Uses of Politics. And he argued that much of politics is symbolic reassurance. Politicians distract the public with ceremonies, rhetoric, and symbolic gestures, while actual policies tend to serve the elites and narrow interests. So what they tend to do politically in America, and the money drives all this. Remember, America is a capitalist democracy. It's not a democratic capitalist society. It's a capitalist democracy. Capitalism is the big brother. Democracy is the little brother. The big brother beats up the little brother all the time and takes his lunch money. The big brother slaps the little brother in the face and says, "Shut up, you little punk. This is my house." Capitalism runs the democracy. Just look at your president sitting next to tech giants when he's getting inaugurated. That's about as blatant of an example as you're ever going to find in modern society. So, um, what tends to happen in elections, and this is why I probably sound like a frustrated alien to a lot of people, because I sit there and I see us all kind of jumping in the same little boat, and I say, I don't like this, is that they tend to feed people symbolism. They tend to feed, and it's not just Black people; they do this to everybody. They'll dive into some hot button issue or some debate about whether or not a trans person can use the same bathroom as a boy or a girl, and they'll pick a side, and we say, I'm voting for that person because they're going to make the trans guy use the men's bathroom. Now, again, I understand, I respect the fact that you have an opinion on that. You can have whatever opinion you want, but that's not why they're trying to get elected. The reason they're trying to get elected is that the people who are buying your vote for them, meaning the corporations that like, or maybe an organization like APAC, that or whatever that's giving them money and telling them, okay, tell them that you want the trans guy to use the boys' bathroom. They're looking for business deals in the back end. They're looking to get that oil drilling contract. They're looking to get another $3 billion donated to Israel. They're looking to get real money, real substance. You're kind of being sold the symbolism, right? So Murray Edelman's research paper kind of points to that. Another one is this is just a concept in political science. Symbolic versus substantive representation. Studies in representation theory show that politicians frequently rely on symbolic acts like flag waving, identity-based gestures, and catchy slogans to maintain support, even when they avoid real reform. So they'll use a bunch of talking and arm waving and symbolism to get your vote, but they're really not actually doing anything. I want you to pay attention to that. I want you to start getting used to knowing the difference between someone saying something versus someone actually doing something. I talk about that a lot in this class. And so, again, I'm not accusing Serena of being in on the conspiracy. I'm not saying, but I'm saying that I think that the symbolic aspect of a cotton plant in a luxury hotel where the rooms are $3,000 a night, I don't know if that's necessarily something that we have the time to really be caught up in and riled up about. I see real stuff. Like I see every week there's like lots of black children that get murdered in Chicago. That's kind of real, you know, or I see millions of our kids graduating from high school every year with the inability to compete in society. I think that's very real. When I see black family wealth going down instead of up, that's super real, right? Because now you got to go work for that horrible racist white man every day and be stressed out to the point where you're crying on Instagram about how much you hate your life, you know, because you can't pay bills, right? So the ability or inability to pay your bills and build wealth and have security and have emotional stability, that's real and that's substantive. That has a big impact on your life. A cotton plant in a luxury hotel probably isn't something that any of us are thinking about on a daily basis. Moving on. All right, so let me keep reading. Oh, and it says here in representation theory that minority politics is really where they use symbolism the most. Descriptive gestures are emphasized without material policy change. So I'm going to talk all day about, I'm going to tell you Black Lives Matter as much as you need to hear it, but I'm never going to talk to you about real reparations. Like, I'm not really going to write a check to support whatever it is that I'm saying to you. I'm just going to say it because I know your self esteem is low and I need you to feel better. Okay. What else? Policy versus performance data. Research shows that voters often respond more strongly to symbolic symbols than to policy details. So it's not just the politician's fault that they give you flash over substance. It's our fault. We want that. We like that. We like the way things feel, the way things make us feel over what's actually happening. So a lot of people don't want to hear the detailed policy issues. They just want something that's going to make them say, you know, hooray, hooray, right? All right, so there's a study in 2012 by Hibbing and Thies Morris that found that citizens value politicians acting like regular people, symbolism, more than actually producing complicated policy outcomes. So if a guy wears, you know, a shirt and looks like a farmer and talks about his wife and kids, then we relate to that. We're like, oh, he's a real person, you know. In fact, I remember, I kid you not, I just thought about this story. How can I explain this? Sometimes every now and then I'll have like a really famous friend, and the really famous friend will give me the inside scoop on stuff that some other people don't get to see or get to hear. So this guy, years ago, he was telling me about you know, when he met Barack Obama and how great it was. Barack's a great guy. You know, he's really like friendly and relatable and super intelligent. And he said that they took a picture together, and I'm not going to repeat what Barack said to him because it might sound derogatory, but it was like guy talk. I'll just say that guy talk. And so after they had this guy talk, because he was sitting with two black men, two brothers, and the guys started laughing. You know, he's like, imagine a bunch of guys making some goofy comment about sex or something, like as men, right, or whatever. So you know what he said to me is he said, man, he said, I can believe, he said, you know, he said, Barack is a real nigga. He a real nigga. That's what he said, right? I'm not gonna say it again, but I'll say igga. He's like, man, Barack is a real igga, right? And I remember just sitting there thinking like, oh, that's interesting. But years later, I'm processing that, and that was, in my view, a master politician being what you need him to be, right? Being relatable to you, right? Doing regular people stuff, like real Igga stuff, right? But I guarantee you, when he's talking to the Jewish guy, he wasn't saying the same thing. When he's talking to the Latino guy, he's not doing the same thing. When he's speaking to the head of the labor union, he's doing something different, right? But that's what politicians have to do. I'm not discrediting him. I'm saying this is politics, right? And I think that this costs us big time, right? These sort of feel good moments are very expensive because the time that they're spending convincing you that that I'm a mom like you, or I know what it's like for my car to break down, that's time that could be spent discussing something that really matters, something that's really relevant. The other piece here too is there's also studies that say that politicians, or let me read this, data from presidential campaigns show that candidates spend a disproportionate amount of resources on symbolic issues like patriotism, values, hot button social debates, while substantive economic issues like healthcare costs or wealth inequality or reparations, economic issues like reparations. I sound like Max Headroom. I'm repeating myself, but because I want us to really get this point, they receive less airtime, despite polling showing that they matter more to the public. So they'll spend more time on the BS than on the actual stuff that matters. Like culture wars as a distraction. Political scientists note that wedge issues like flags, bathrooms, book bans, kneeling in sports are often elevated symbolically to stir emotions, while redistributive policies like tax reform, wages, housing affordability, or reparations are neglected. This matches Thomas Frank's argument in the book What's the Matter with Kansas, where he talks about cultural symbolism overshadowing economic self-interest. So what I just kind of the point I just want to make here is um you got to know the difference between cover your kids' ears. I'm about to use a cuss word. You ready? Cover if you got kids, cover, and you don't want them here, cover their ears. Or grandma, you can cover your ears too. It's Sunday. I don't want to offend you, but you got to know the difference between bullshit and real shit. There's so much bullshit. There's so much just arm waving and just posturing. And I'm not saying Serena is in on this. I'm not disrespecting her at all, but that's what I think really kind of got to me about the cotton plant thing. It's like, Lord, you got 100 million followers or whatever you got. Can we please hit something substantive and meaningful? Like I don't have a platform like Serena. I probably never will. But I do have a few million followers and and whatever. And my thought as a teacher and as a person who cares about the community is to say, what specific instructions can I share that will help us solve this wealth thing so that our lives can get better because we have more money in the bank? Would you not agree? Give me a yes in the chat. I ask stupid questions to get simple answers so I can make my point. Would you agree that having more money in the bank would make most black people at least a little bit better off? Would you agree that being financially secure would improve everybody's life in this room? I'm not saying that you don't have other problems. I'm not saying money is everything. Money is not a god, but money matters, right? And that touches you. That's real. That like that's real. That's not emotional. It's not hallelujah. It's not yeah, I'm feeling powerful today. No, it's real. It's like, no, you got now I can go pay that bill I gotta pay. I get my car broke down, I can get it fixed. I can go on a trip and not worry about the cost of the plane ticket. I can do all these other my kids need shoes for school. I can buy shoes for my kids now because I got an extra $1,000 in my bank account. Like that to me, that's pretty awesome, right? And so and then you can expand that to health and with relationships and everything. Everything, the thing about it, the thing I really want you to I want to try to share with you that I hope will help you is everything that matters to us in life, there's like an instruction manual out there. The world is a textbook, and I see this because of my background as a professor. I guess I was like, well, everything in the book came from the world, so the world ain't nothing but a big ass textbook, and the instructions are out there. If you're trying to fight through your depression, 1,000 books have been written on it. There's a billion experts on this topic. They can help you with that. If you're fighting through trying to figure out how to deal with a crazy teenage child, there's a book out there. There's instructions out there. Somebody can say, "Well, do this when the 14-year-old comes in and cusses you out. Here's what you do. If you think she might get pregnant, then here's what you got to talk to her about. If your son wants to go out with a gun and shoot somebody, sit him down and talk to him about this, right? Whatever it is, right? So I think that to me is the simplest, most direct pathway to a fulfilled and content life. Um, what is not an efficient pathway, in my opinion, is to just yell and scream and be mad about something, a fixable problem, and just scream and holler about it. It's like, well, what are you screaming and hollering about? Who are you waiting for? Like, is Superman coming? Is he coming to dinner? Because I need to know. And I think our Superman really does become white people. I think that for black people, we will scream and holler about a problem, and I think that we are led somehow to miraculously believe that these same people who benefit and profit from our demise are going to be the ones who show up and fix the issue. I don't believe that at all. So I'm not saying I'm anti-white at all. I'm not. I'm not. I love my white friends, right? I get to say stuff like that, right? But I'm more of a I'm not a pure integrationist in the sense that integration can be terrible if it's not done correctly, right? Integration is not a bad idea. Integrate the whole world's integrated, right? NAFTA, we're integrated through NAFTA, the Asian free trade agreements, they're all integrated. You make integrations constantly. Nvidia integrated with Intel by investing $5 billion in the company. That's an integration. Those are examples of integration. Integration itself is not a bad concept, but it becomes very bad if you integrate in an inappropriate way. If you integrate in a way that says, I'm the alpha, you're the beta, then that can become very abusive. Or if you're integrating with the wrong party, someone who doesn't like you, who disrespects you, who mistreats you, that can be very traumatic, right? So just like forming a business partnerships are not the culprit. It's when you form a business partnership with your crazy cousin that gets you locked up or get you killed. That's when you have a problem. So integration, I'm not anti-integration across the board. I'm anti-integration when it's inappropriate. And our version of integration has led to us economically becoming overly dependent economically on white folks. We depend on them in ways you would not imagine. As much as we complain, we give them all of our money, we give them all of our free time, so we can't even build anything in our community because we spend all our time at work. We're building their companies and not building our own companies, and these are things that have led to a just dramatic destruction of black economic possibility in ways you can't even imagine. How in the hell is it that black women are spending billions of dollars a year on hair and all that money's going to Asians and it's like that don't make no sense. How is it that we got the best freaking athletes on the planet and all and Jewish and white people are making all that money? Like that don't make no sense. We produce the best entertainers on earth and somehow everybody else gets the money. That's not cool. That ain't smart. That's not good integration. And so really, so where I end up upsetting people and disturbing their peace a little bit is I'll say, man, I don't want to sit around and wait for white folks to save me because not only are they not going to save me, but when they show up to try to save me, they ain't going to do nothing but colonize me. That's what they're good at. They've been very good at colonizing. They're not so good at collaborating. Their energy is not collaborative. Yeah, I've even thought about this very deeply. I said I think it comes from like the Middle Ages and the Black Plague and all the horrible stuff they went through, for hundreds of years, where they just got in the habit of like beating each other up and taking each other's stuff, and that's why you go through. I rode through Germany, and I saw and I read in somewhere on AI or something where they were saying that Germany has like 400 castles, right? And they build these freaking castles because everybody was showing up on each other's doorstep and murdering your whole family and taking your stuff. Like this didn't we didn't do that in Africa. I mean, we had wars, of course, but that type of savage behavior that leads to a world where we got to worry about whether or not Vladimir Putin's going to wake up and launch a nuclear missile at the United States. Like black people don't have nukes. We don't even think that way, right? We're like, why would I build a weapon that can kill all of us? That makes no sense, right? So in fact, I don't think there's a single African country that has a nuclear weapon or even is trying to build one. They're like, why would you want to kill everybody? Right? So anyway, let's get back to it. So my point is to say that I think our energy is collaborative. I think that we're very loving people culturally, and I think that that's something to be admired. So I think that as we build our Black Wall Street, it has to be a loving space. It can be collaborative and supportive and still generate massive amounts of wealth. Right. I think that we don't have to demonize wealth uh, in order to um, in order to be good people. I think that we just have to understand the power of wealth and use it in a way that is intelligent and responsible. So my vision of a Black Wall Street is not it's not Wall Street. Right? Well, I don't see Wall Street as a prototype for what Black Wall Street should look like. I think Black Wall Street should be something that's built on the unique value systems that we embrace as people, where you can have your wealth but not sell your soul. You can do well financially and still be a human. You can take care of yourself very well and still care about others. Can we agree on that? I think that this is something that, again, this is where I'm a little biased, and I hope it's okay if I share it in that way. I don't think capitalism or financial success has to be predatory, but I think it's also okay for you to look out for you and also look out for others. In fact, the more you look out for others, the more you'll be looking out for yourself. The key to receiving, by the way, is giving. There's something called the law of reciprocity. So if you ever want to receive lots of blessings, go out and bless as many people as you can, and just be careful because some people might exploit that. But literally, if you're blessing people constantly and you're blessing people in your own ecosystem, you're consciously blessing people and saying, so I'm gonna make sure I take good care of mine because I need mine to take good care of me. That actually is an economic theory. That actually works into financial reciprocity because people, when you show up and you say, "Hey, I'm having a hard time. Can you help me out?" They're going to remember all the things that you did for them all those years, and they're going to see you as a reliable source of synergy and collaboration. They're going to say, "Hell yeah, I'm stepping up for you. My God, I love you." Right? And so love is really the key to everything, in my opinion. I'm a big fan of that. All right. So anyway, let me share my Instagram real quick. And also, I want to let everybody know, I forgot to mention this. Um, yeah, does anybody know that we have kind of like a like our own like sort of little Facebook community? It's called B1 Nation. And you can go in there, and we've been sort of upgrading it and messing around with it a little bit and making it even better. So if you go into b1nation.us, not .com, b1nation.us, you can actually go in and find people in this community that literally live within 20 miles of where you live. You can get together and talk about financial topics and all kinds of things. You can see here, this is what it looks like. So you got the feed, and you can discover and find members and things like that. We've also got different communities for different things like stock options and investing and all kinds of stuff and different topics and conversations you can have. And there's about 61,000 of you that are on this community right now. So if you go to b1nation.us, they're going to ask you three questions to decide if they want to let you in, and you got to answer the questions in uh, they won't take long, but you got to answer the questions as a human would, because sometimes bots and trolls and stuff will try to get in, and so they don't let everybody in. They block out people that look like they're just trying to join just so they can do something harmful. So if you want to join, feel free to go to b1nation.us and feel free to pop in and have conversations, and you'll see me on there. I go on there already, but you'll see me on there even more, and we'll start doing events out of there because they've actually enhanced the functionality a little bit. So it's b1nation.us, not .com. It's not .com. It's b1nation.us. And so feel free to go to the number one, b1nation.us if you want to join the community. Now I want to share something with you. I decided I wanted to become a rapper, and I wanted to and so I made a song. I made a music video because that's just I don't know, because I'm weird like that. So I did this. This is about Black Wall Street, and I wanted to play it for you because when I was little, my mother, when I was like 7, I used to like entertain my parents. Like I would go in, I would get a joke book, and I would like go and like rereading the joke book and following my mother around the house and like reading jokes, and I would keep reading them until she laughed about something. So I used to really like to make my mother laugh. And my father, he was he's kind of he's a police captain, so he didn't laugh at nothing. But my mother, she would laugh, right? So I really got joy in making my mother laugh and entertaining my mom. So since my mom is in heaven now, I'm gonna probably like take some of that energy and drop it on y'all. So every now and then I'm just entertained. You're gonna be like, "Why is Boyce doing that?" Just know it's because he used to make his mama laugh and he misses his mama. So here I'm gonna play this video. Help me out if you could. Give me a yes if you can hear it. I want to make sure the audio works because y'all saw the disaster that happened yesterday where I hit the button and I was enjoying it and y'all couldn't hear nothing. And but here, let me know. Just hit a thumbs up or something and let me know you can hear. So here it goes.
Close to 1921, the scene was lit. Black Wall Street thriving, everybody getting rich. Doctors, lawyers, business booming in the town. A whole black city building wealth from the ground. But envy sparked fire, hate came with the flame. Planes drop bombs, streets never look the same. 35 blocks gone, dreams turn to dust. But you can't kill a people with resilience and trust. From the ashes we rise, can't erase our name. Black Wall Street lives still burning like a flame. We build, we invest, we gon' claim what's ours. Black wealth, black power. Homes torn apart, but the spirit of ownership stayed in the heart. It's a blueprint for us, a lesson to learn. Circulate the dollar, let the wealth return. Buy land, buy stocks, teach the youth to save. Pass it down strong from the cradle to the grave. Economics is power, unity is the key. If we did it back then, imagine now what we'd be. From the ashes, we rise. Can't erase our name. Black Wall Street lives still burning like a flame. We build, we invest, we gon' claim what's ours. Black wealth, black power, reaching for the stars.
So what'd y'all think? What do you think? Did you like it? You liked it? Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you for the kind words, and if you ever want me to play it again, just let me know. I'll be happy to play it. And it really, to me, I kind of liked. I thought it was cool just because I felt sort of like, okay, this. I don't know about you guys, but I get really inspired when I see like black people like looking classy and just doing like these really amazing positive things. Like I just love that. Like I love the way when they would show like a 1920s picture and you see like a full family, mother, father, children, and the dad is dressed, really nicely with a nice hat and whatever. And the mother's dressed in this, put on a beautiful dress, and the children are looking safe and happy and everything. Like to me, I think that's more than just some sort of fantasy. That's not a fantasy. There were people that really lived like that. And I think that it's like the elders are really the key to us reaching our potential because the elders can remember times like that. Like they remember communities where there were black business owners everywhere and places you could go where Dr. Claude Anderson talks about walking down certain streets and you smell the barbecue, you can hear the music coming out the juke joint, you see the restaurant over here, the barber shop over there, and I think that can be done again. I don't think that's impossible. I think it's really a mindset. I mean, we're never going to be um, we're never going to be in 1920 again. But maybe we can make, the year 2040 a pretty amazing time, right? And so, and really, actually, I think I'm really proud of the fact that over the last 10 years, if you've ever gone to the All Black National Convention, that has a similar feel. It has a very similar feel to Black Wall Street. You have a hard time finding anybody who isn't going to share love with you, who isn't, community oriented. I think that community piece is really big when it comes to wealth. Anybody that has a strong community has a very high probability of building solid wealth. You have people that want to be more intelligent, want to be more knowledgeable. They want to connect. They want to support each other. So let's see. So how can we get the song, Natalia? You can actually go to my Instagram. My Instagram is Dr. Boyce Finance. So if you go to Dr. Boyce Finance, it's right there. So feel free to go take a look. Yeah, that was AI, but I thought, hey, why not? Let's make a little music video, see how that goes. So if y'all like it, then maybe I'll make one once a week or something, and we'll just kind of bop our way to greatness. All right, so let me give you some things. I want to give you sort of five components. So let's say that we want to develop this Black Wall Street, right? Either in this space, maybe nationwide, worldwide, or just community wide, or just within your family, right? Just me and my cousins, we want to have a Black Wall Street kind of thing. What would that look like? What would the components be for the building of a Black Wall Street? How do you do that? Like so what I want to do is I'm going to go through some things, some characteristics of a thriving economic ecosystem within a community and what that would look like. And before I do that too, I want to keep my promise. I mentioned earlier that I had some stuff I want to share with you on investing. There is there's a market downturn or recession that's likely to occur some point soon, and that's just mainly because that's just the way things work. You don't have economic booms that last forever. And so some of you are worried about that and how to protect yourself. And so one of the ways that investors protect themselves is by investing in lower risk assets like bonds. And the thing about buying bonds is a lot of people think that to invest in bonds, you got to actually go buy a bond. like my grandmother used to buy savings bonds for me when I was a little kid. You don't actually have to buy the bond. You can actually make investments in assets that are publicly traded that um, that basically give you the same connection to bond funds that you would have if you were a direct investor. So let me share with you the link to this this list. I'm gonna put it inside the Zoom, and here we go. Have I thought about doing a collaborative stock market investment with a minimum of 500 to 1,000? This will be doable for most of us. Yeah, well, you know what? Right now, Sharon, I don't want, I'm putting the list in here, by the way, if you want to click the link. I really have always kind of not so much been interested in like these sort of big community investment initiatives, only because I kind of think things can get ugly. Like I was really traumatized by the way things happened with the Tulsa real estate fund, and I things were not done properly there. And I don't know when it happened, somebody asked me like, well, why don't you do that? And I was like, because I don't really know if everyone understands what risk really looks like to make an investment like that. I said, um, if you deal with somebody that knows investing, they know that sometimes you make money, sometimes you lose money. But if someone's investing for the first time and they're investing money they can't afford to lose, then if things don't go well, they say, "Oh, you were a crook. You stole my money." And I think, but I will say, with the Tulsa Fund, the big mistake that was made was they should have had a board. Jay should have had a board. I told him that directly. He didn't have a board that I knew of. Maybe there's something else, but I didn't see that. And also, I think I was a little confused because because I endorsed it and made an investment in it, which I lost 100% of the money. There were people who thought that I was running the show or whatever, and I run the Black Business School. I don't have time to run other people's stuff. So it really kind of led me to really process like, okay, how do we move forward in this? Because one good thing that we've been able to do is, since we've been doing this kind of thing since 2006, 2007, I think that we put Black wealth on the map. I hear generational wealth, that term being used all the time. There was a time when nobody talked about that type of stuff, but now it's kind of everywhere. Thanks to people like Dr. Claude Anderson, I contributed. Now you have other great people doing amazing things. But the downside of that is there has to be a discussion about what economic culture really looks like. Like economic culture is pretty conservative. It's not, and the problem with hip hop culture is built on not being conservative, right? And I'm not talking about socially conservative. I'm talking about financially conservative, conserving resources, just like in football, protecting the ball, right? You don't flail it around or whatever. So hip hop culture is kind of wild and crazy and throw money in the air and waste money on a new Bugatti and babies mamas and everything. And that's very anti-wealth. That's not pro-wealth. So I wasn't surprised when I started to see some problems pop up because people were taking unnecessary risk. As you know, I think about risk on a very deep level, and I would say I don't know if it's good for you to be flashy with money. I don't. It's not good for you to assume that everything's always going to be great and that you're always going to have the same money flowing in. Young people, when young athletes go broke, one reason they go broke is because they think that the money's going to last forever. They're not processing in a conscious way. What happens if suddenly this $10 million a year I'm making is gone? Like, how am I going to feed all these babies' mamas? How am I going to take care of all these car payments? How am I going to keep taking care of all these people in the hood whose bills I'm paying? And so, wealth is something that you have to protect. And to protect the thing, you've got to be very conscious of all the risk factors in almost like a multi-dimensional way. You have to really almost meditate on it and say, what can go wrong and how do I make sure I minimize the chances things can go bad? So if you approach wealth in a way with the mindset of most of the rappers, you're not going to have wealth for very long. And that's just a fact. All right, so let me jump in here. I'm going to give you some steps and information on what a Black Wall Street would look like as you build that. First thing you have to have is capital access. So there's a theory, the Solo model of endogenous growth theory, that basically says that sustained development requires capital accumulation. So that means you have to have savings, investment, and credit structures that recycle back into the community. So in order for Black economic systems to be built, you have to have access to capital, which we don't tend to have. But also you have to have in the community, you have to have savers and investors and not just borrowers and spenders. So you can have borrowers and spenders, but you have to have savers and investors. That's why saving culture, which is conservative again, investing culture is really important. So the fact that we've talked 10,000 times And in this room, there are thousands of investors. That right there does mean that when we decide to launch something or do something together, which I'm still thinking about that, we'll be able to do some pretty powerful stuff because we all understand the value and the benefit of investing. You'd be amazed how many people think investing is just something that rich people do, something that only white people do, something they can't afford to do, something that they'll get around to later, something they're just not interested in because it requires a certain level of consciousness, right? An investor has to have a perspective that lends itself to delayed gratification. Delayed gratification is another form of financial consciousness. It means I'm not just thinking about how I feel right now, I'm elevating my mind to think about how I'm going to feel 5 years from now. Do you understand? That's consciousness. I have to take myself out of my body and go 5 years in the future and think about the benefits I'll have 5 years from now, 10 years from now, in order to make the sacrifice I'm making right now. When they get you operating on a low frequency, a low vibrational frequency, where you're not thinking from a conscious perspective, you're thinking in a one-dimensional framework, in a short-sighted framework, you become what is called myopic. Myopic just means you're short-sighted. Animals think like that, actually. If you get a dog and you give it, and let's say you go on a vacation and you're going to be gone for 7 days, and you give your dog 7 days worth of food, what is that dog going to do? Is he gonna say to himself, I better eat a little bit now so I can have enough for the next 7 days, and then I'm gonna eat a little bit more tomorrow, but I'm not gonna go too far with it. What's he gonna do? No, he's not gonna do that. The dog is gonna eat, he's gonna eat 7 days worth of food. He's gonna eat real good for about 24 hours, and then he's gonna run out of food, and and by the time you get home, that dog might not be alive no more because he's gonna be starving, right? So really, if you think about this, the goal of capitalism, the sinister goal of Americanized capitalism is to get you thinking like a damn dog. Is to put you under so much pressure and low vibrational thinking that you're not even planning for the next 6 months. You're not even thinking about next year. Maybe it's because you're in survival mode and all you can think about is how am I going to get by this week? Or maybe you in party mode where you live in YOLO. Like I'm just gonna do what I'm gonna do and I'm gonna live my life. How many times have you seen that? Somebody who's living in the moment all the time and having their best life all the time, and then they suffer for the next 40 years because they were living their best life every single day in college. I think that that's the goal. I think that if you have short-sighted people with low consciousness, they're going to be the ones that you can turn into slaves. A lack of consciousness leads right into slavery because you're not thinking about how the next step impacts the step after that. You're not playing chess, you're playing checkers. You're making one move at a time. She's pretty, let me go have sex with this pretty girl. You're not thinking like, well, wait a minute, if I have sex with her and she gets pregnant, then I have to be a baby daddy to her, let strip her, and then she might have a disease. And then you're not thinking about that. You're not thinking in a multi-dimensional framework. You're thinking in a one-dimensional framework. Woman look good. I sleep with woman. Well, why would you think that way? Well, because that's what this culture teaches us is a form of masculinity. Go out here and put your penis in any toxic waste dump within a 100-mile radius and hope for the best. Hope that it works out for you. And then when it doesn't, you say, "Oh, well, I prayed to God to make my life better." Why don't you just don't just talk to God? God's gonna be like, "Look in the mirror." that I didn't have sex with all those women. So anyway, let me keep going. Another thing you need in a community if you want to build a Black Wall Street is you need entrepreneurship and innovation. So there's a guy named Schumpeter, and he has a theory of creative destruction that stresses the long-term growth, sorry, that comes from entrepreneurs creating and scaling new businesses. You have to have entrepreneurs. You have to have entrepreneurs. You have to have entrepreneurs. For your community to have businesses, you need business owners. You need business developers. That's what you need. Look at most universities. Look at most HBCUs. Are they mass producing entrepreneurs or are they mass producing employees? Are they mass producing business developers? Or are they mass producing business managers? How the hell are you going to manage a business that does not exist? You cannot manage a business if there is no business. So then you come out and you're a hammer without a nail. You got a hammer. You're like, I'm looking for a nail to hammer. You're not thinking about how to build a house. You're not coming with a hammer and a nail and equipment. You're coming with a hammer and you're like, boss, just give me something. Give me a nail. I need a nail. I don't care what we're building. I just need a nail because I spent 4 years learning how to use a hammer. And I'm not saying HBCUs are bad at all. One of our kids is at an HBCU now, but every time I talk to any of the kids on the campus, I'm like, You're a black man. You need to know how to start a business. Even if you never run a business, you need to learn how to start one because you have to be able to create your own opportunities in case the white man's not hiring. And I explain it to him like sports. I say in sports, you have athletes that wait for the ball, they wait for something good to happen. Then you have what they call playmakers. I said black men have to be trained to be playmakers. Black women too. But black men, we know what's going on with black men and the struggles that we have. So you got to be a playmaker. Playmaker is somebody, if you know sports, a playmaker is a guy who just can make something happen. He can take a boring game and make it exciting just by doing something. Michael Jordan was a playmaker, right? Kobe Bryant was a playmaker. Shaquille O'Neal was a playmaker, right? Bo Jackson was a playmaker. You always wonder about Deion Sanders. Lord Jesus, Deion was one of the greatest playmakers of all time. That's why I have one jersey on my wall, and it's Deion Sanders. And I told you I was really shocked when I realized that we have the same last name. I didn't even make the connection until last week. My biological father's last name was Sanders. And Deion Sanders, if anybody ever saw Deion at his prime, ooh, buddy, Deion was great because Deion would just a punt return is very boring. Usually the guy catches the ball, he'll run 5 yards and get tackled. Deion would tell you he was about to run that punt back for a touchdown, and I'll be damned if he didn't do it. This man was extraordinary. He was one of the greatest playmakers of all time. Tom Brady, white guy, playmaker, right? So my point is to say, in this economy, in this very competitive economy, the worst thing that any black child can be trained to be is passive. If you're passive, then you're waiting for something to happen. You're waiting for someone to give you an opportunity. You're waiting for someone to open a door. You're waiting for someone to invite you into their space. I hope someone lets me into the organization or whatever. And the hard part, the stress and the struggle that we all have is sometimes there's not enough doors for everybody. They don't have enough room in white institutions to employ all the capable black people that are out there. So we end up stuck in this scarcity mode where it's like you get to competing with each other because you're all fighting to be the one Negro that they let into the company. And that's not a healthy place to be. It's not healthy to be in a scarcity mindset where you're competing with people who should be your natural allies. So and how does this happen? Well, it's because there are those who control the space, the arena in which you're competing. And so long story short, if you have entrepreneurship and innovation, then you have an abundance of visionaries. You have an abundance of people making plans. You have people out here building things, creating opportunities out of thin air, and it becomes an amazing place. Extraordinary. It's the key, one of the keys to economic growth. So if you have capital available and you've got people that want to apply this capital to innovative ideas, then you have a growing, thriving economy. That's why the United States economy, by the way, is one of the strongest on earth. It's largely due to the fact that we're very good in the U.S. at raising capital. We have the best financial markets on the planet. Make no mistake about it. But also, we're very good at creating these entrepreneurs. Go out to Silicon Valley, and you couldn't throw a rock without it hitting the head of a white boy who's planning on trying to build some billion-dollar startup. Like you, or or maybe he's Asian, or maybe he's black too. There's black people out there as well. They get ignored, but they do exist. And so really, I think that should be our community. I think we should have just as much innovation as possible, as much entrepreneurship, as much capital formation. The next part is this is a big one, and this is where we're getting hit pretty hard. Becker, there's a guy named Becker. He's an economist at the University of Chicago. I talked to him once when I was in grad school. He's really smart and very good at what he does. I sent him an email. He emailed me back. Becker's human capital theory shows that education, skills training, and knowledge transfer directly raise productivity. A sustainable system invests heavily in schools, workforce training, and ongoing skill building. So, when I tell you that I believe to the core of my soul that black people are losing trillions of dollars by shipping our children off to be educated by white people, I am not playing when I say this. I cannot apologize for those who are offended. I understand there's nuances to the argument. I know there's variations in the quality of educational systems, but you see what some of these poor kids, well, they're smart kids with lots of potential, are coming out knowing how to do absolutely nothing, having zero ability to thrive or even survive in a highly, highly competitive society. That is a crime against humanity as far as I'm concerned. So if I sat down, if Serena called me and said, "Hey, Boyce, I saw your video and I really want to prove you wrong because I think you're an idiot. So what I'm going to do is me and my white husband going to pull together $100 million and we're going to do one project just to shut you up, you asshole." She would say, "What project do you want us to pursue?" I would say, "I want you to build some schools. I want you to do what I could not convince Kanye to do, which is I need you to go and work with me, and I'll do this for free. Don't give me none of your money. Um, and I want us to build Powernomics training camps all across the United States. I want us to build maybe 20 of these facilities so that everybody can come in for free and learn maybe 10 or 15 basic economic lessons that will carry them for the rest of their lives. Literally, and I tell her, I say, your superpower is tennis. You were the greatest tennis player of all time. My superpower is finance. I am a financial ninja, and I can not only show you how to do this cost effectively, but I can show you how you can do this in a highly efficient way in terms of teaching them the bare minimum that they would know that would make a massive difference. Gaining a lot from doing a little. Very simple curricula that such that if we can incentivize, say, 5 million black people to go through a basic curriculum on this, we're going to take over the world. And then form communities around this. Connect. That's how you swirl your economics with each other. I said this would be a multi-trillion-dollar transformation in the black community. That's my imaginary conversation with Serena Williams that I'm having in my head. So if you're Serena, if you're watching, call me and get your rich white husband on the phone so he can write a check because I know how much money he's got and I know that we can get this done. All right, just cost you 100 million, but we'll put in escrow. I won't touch the money. I'll just tell you where we need to put it. Okay, got it. All right, that's the plan. Okay. All right, ready? Break. All right, next, the next piece is if you want to build a Black Wall Street, you have to circulate your wealth locally. We know this. Keynesian multipliers. Keynes was a famous economist 100 years ago. Keynesian multipliers suggest that when money circulates locally, meaning you buy from community-owned businesses instead of businesses outside of the community, the effects compound, which increase the number of jobs in the income levels of that community. Strong ecosystems reduce leakage of spending to outside entities. So basically, Chinese people are really good at this. They're very good at spending money with their own because they understand this. They didn't go to school to study economics, but they know that if you keep the money inside your space, it's like if I turn on the air condition and the windows open. What do I do if I want to save energy? What do I do? If I turn my air conditioner on full blast, it's 110 degrees outside. I'm in Arizona or something, and the window's open. What's the best way for me to save energy and to keep the room as cool as possible? Close the window. Close the window. The Black community's economic ecosystem is basically like a room where you got a really powerful air conditioned system. You're blasting out insane amounts of air, but every single window is wide open and it's 110 degrees outside. So you wonder, well, how in the hell are we blasting all this air? And my electricity bill is through the roof. You're paying a higher price to participate in this economy than anybody else. Your electricity bill is insane. You're paying more than everyone else because it's very painful for black people to participate in this economic system. And the trade-off is that you're getting 1.7 trillion dollars worth of air coming out of the vent. And still, despite the fact that 1.7 trillion dollars worth of air is coming out of the vent and you're paying a massive electricity bill, you're still hot as hell. Why are you hot? Well, you need look no further than look at the windows. Well, all your windows are open. Every time air comes into the room, you're sending the air out the door. Right? So you're keeping the outside cool. I could stand outside your house and be just as cool as I would be being inside your house. Why is that? Well, because nobody ever taught us how to shut the window. We never thought about shutting the window. We leave it wide open. Asian people, they shut the window. Jewish people, they keep the window shut. Arab people, they shut the window. So when you talk about black economics and building an economic ecosystem is going to work, let's go through the pieces. You have capital access to fund innovative entrepreneurs who are building businesses. You commit yourself to education at the highest levels. No black child should go without a strong education. You circulate that wealth locally. You pour into the things that give back to you. And then you shut the damn window so that air can circulate and flow, and everybody in no time everybody's feeling comfortable and cool. Like you ever come in from like a hot day outside and it's like boiling hot, and then you walk in the air conditioner, it's like, right? Like that's what it should be like being in a black economic ecosystem. It should literally feel like, oh my God, I'm around my people. I'm in my safe space. I'm in a space of productivity. I'm in a space of opportunity. I'm in a space of prosperity. Why in the world would I ever leave this and go back outside? Doesn't make any sense, right? Last piece is you have to have institutions. You have to have institutions and you have to have trust in those institutions. This is important. This is, and I talk about this a lot in my book, The 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power. So in the 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power, there's a discussion about the fact that institutions were deliberately destroyed in the Black community. And they destroyed your institutions because they want you to depend on their institutions. So whenever you have Black people showing up and saying, I have an institution, trust me, even Black people say, I don't trust that Negro because Negroes can't run institutions. Negroes can't control anything. But if a white guy comes along with an institution, we tend to have more trust. Like when I started the Black Business School, I still, if you go out, I'm sure somewhere on the internet, there are still people that think that I don't have a real PhD. They really think I'm not a real professor, or that I'm like just an internet scammer who's like selling courses and just out here just running my mouth. No, I have a real PhD. You can go read it. It's from the Ohio State University. Go Buckeyes. We won yesterday, right? I trained with Renee Stoltz, who was one of the leading people on earth in this field. Andrew Caroli is now a dean at Cornell. He was my dissertation chair. Every single member of my dissertation committee graduated from the University of Chicago, which is like the Vatican of finance. It's arguably the two of the theories I just read to you were people from the University of Chicago. That's how powerful that institution is. So I'm like, how qualified do I got to be for you to believe that I can create an institution just like white people can? Right. And most of you don't have that issue. That's why you're here. And I appreciate that. But it is an uphill battle for black. And a lot of you go through this. A lot of you go when you create a business, people don't take it seriously. You have some of you have relatives that won't even take your business seriously, who will laugh at you, right? Because they'll be like, well, what's wrong with you? Just go get that job at the post office, boy, right? Like they think you're talking crazy, like you're like literally when you say, I don't want to work for anybody, I want to create a business on my own. There are some people who literally will act like that's not possible, and I think that's insanity. That's a mental illness, actually. It's a mental illness to believe that it's impossible for a black person, but what thousands of white people have already done it. Millions of white people have already done it. In fact, everything you believe in was once something that was just a concept in somebody's mind. Jeff Bezos quit his job to start Amazon. You don't question the legitimacy of Amazon, but you definitely question legitimacy of black-owned businesses, especially since they don't have the same amount of capital as white-owned businesses. So it really takes a lot of resilience to build institutions. It takes specific skill to build institutions, but the reward, once you have the resilience to have the vision, construct the vision, commit to the vision, and be consistent with the vision, the rewards are amazing because I can do so much more for people as a professor who runs an institution than I could when I was just a guy who had a job at Syracuse. Do you understand? But really the work is internal and external. First thing I had to do before I worked on anybody else was work on Boyce. Was Boyce even convinced that like I'm gonna confess on something really quick. That's something I've never talked about, but this is what I had to go through. I remember being almost embarrassed at the age of 35 when I said, I never thought about it, but I just realized that I cannot imagine myself surviving without getting a paycheck from the white man. I'd never in my life, up until about 35 years old, imagined a world where I could take care of myself financially as well as white folks institutions could take care of me. Right? Everything always circled back to getting a job or a better job or a second job or whatever, being in the good graces of some institution or some employer. And I said, this is insanity. I have a whole doctorate in finance. If anybody can do it, it should be me. But literally that limiting mindset kept me from doing the things I wanted to, kept me from moving boldly with the confidence that I should have had. So I had to work on myself before I could ever work on anything that we're doing together. So this is the culmination of many, many years of conversations I had to have with Boyce to say, what's wrong with you, man? And so this oppression, it really does a number on your mind. And I think that the reason I know our kids are going to be more successful than us is because I know a lot of you are raising your children without those shackles. Like a lot of you are raising confident kids who grow up in the middle of black owned institutions, who are in the middle of spaces where innovation and investing are the norm and things like that. They're going to have a great advantage over us because a lot of us didn't come into who we wanted to be until we were 35, 45, 55 years old. If you have the 5-year old figuring these things out early because somebody tells them these things and you pass on a generational blessing of that sort of knowledge and vision and commitment and courage, then they're going to be able to do things at a level that we can't even comprehend. So we're not really trying to really do anything much more right now, in my view, than just laying out the framework and the blueprint for the next generation. That's what I see my job as. I mean, sure, we're gonna make some strides now. We've made a lot of strides, you know. I mean, since we started doing this, a lot of the culture has changed, but I don't think that's even an inkling of what is going to be seen 80 years from now, 70 years from now, 60 years from now. So that's what I'm really thinking of. The big reward will come around the year 2070, 2080, 2090. That's when it's really going to show up. And by that time, many of us will be gone. And it's okay to do that. So keep going, keep being consistent. Black Wall Street is rising. It will rise. We're gonna dominate this. There's no question about it. We're not just gonna catch up. I don't care about things like racial wealth gaps. I'm not trying to compare myself to white people. I think that if we are the best that we can be, uh, we won't be stoppable. We were unstoppable even when we didn't know all the things we know now. Imagine what we do when we have knowledge and then we gain power from that knowledge. We're going to be amazing. And then discipline on top of the power and the knowledge will be a force to be reckoned with. So anyway, I'm done for today. God bless you. Thank you guys for listening. If you want to join us in the community online, you can head over there right now, b1nation.us, not .com. If you go to b1nation.us and you apply to join, just answer the 3 questions. I'll go in a couple hours and I'll let a bunch of you in, but answer the questions so I know you're a human and not a bot and stuff like that. And then also, if you want that list of bond funds to invest in, I'm going to put that in the chat again. So it's in the chat right now. So feel free to grab that. And really more conservative investing. There's always this debate going on. I'll just speak on this in terms of what the economy is doing. There's a constant debate right now among experts as to whether or not the stock market boom is going to continue, right? It's been doing really well. A lot of you are making a lot of money. And so the big concern everyone should have is whether or not this is going to crash. And so as they debate about whether it's going to go up or down, should you stay invested or not invest? Should you listen to fundamental analysis or technical analysis? I think it's pretty simple. I think that the way to approach this is to not be greedy. And what that means is you should be in the stock market because this market could keep going up. There are massive improvements in national productivity, primarily driven by AI and hyperscaler spending and all kinds of catalysts that are just pushing the market like crazy. But it could all come to an end, and it could come to an end at any moment. So the way I would approach things, not investing advice, but staying invested, but then just saying to yourself, like, for what every dollar I make, 10 cents of that dollar will go toward protecting my portfolio, right? So that means that 10% of my investing is bearish investing. A bear is someone who expects the market to go down. So I have 90% of me that's an optimist, but then it's cautious optimism. Does that make sense? I don't hear a lot of people talking about that, but cautious optimism means I'm in, I believe it's going to keep going, I'm ready for more good stuff to happen, but then it may not happen, so I want to make sure I'm ready for that. So that means if I make $1,000, maybe $100 of the thousand goes toward puts and things that will protect the portfolio. The other 900, I can party with that. I'm going to keep on letting it ride and stay invested. So that list of bond funds might be something you can add to the portfolio to protect yourself on that downside risk. Also, I did do a training on ways to protect your portfolio. The URL is stormproofinvesting.com. Stormproofinvesting.com. Yeah, I'm looking to see if it's there. Yeah, still there. So if you go to stormproofinvesting.com, it's a training I did in one of our financial slumber parties, and you can feel free to grab that too. All right, so have a good day, everybody. God bless you. Somebody said, "Where's the link?" Okay, I'm gonna put this in here one more time for you, Clarence. So here you go. It's in there, and maybe tomorrow or something we can do like a Q&A. I know I see a lot of you put questions in. I can't always answer the questions just because it triggers my ADHD, and I'll next thing you know I'll be talking all over the place. So I try to stay focused. But maybe what we can do next time is just do a straight Q&A and just do that. All right, so have a good day, everybody. God bless you. I'll see you all tomorrow morning. And if you want to be on the text list for this class, text the word morning to the number 8